Greetings, occultist. Gangrel here. And I decided to make this video because one of my students had an issue with a spirit, and I've come to realize the roadblocks people come into when they don't understand how the dimensional universe is set up or the planes of existence. And by that I'm referring to the physical, the astral, and the spiritual. And one huge misconception is that they're stair-stepped. Like the astral is above us and the divine is above that. And when in reality, they're all right here. They take up the exact same space as the physical world does. They just exist at a higher vibrational frequency. You hear people talk about higher vibrations all the time, but nobody really explains what they're talking about. And that vibrational frequency is just like the movement of molecules here in the physical plane. The faster the molecules move, the less dense that it is. Like water, the molecules moving faster in water makes it more fluid, makes it less solid than, say, like this wall behind me. It's the molecules in it and the atoms in it are moving at a slower vibration, and so it's more solid. And our physical form is somewhere kind of in between there. So you might think of that as the physical plane, us as the astral, my body as the astral plane, and water as the spiritual plane. Which, incidentally enough, is one reason that water is also considered a representative of the spiritual. Aside from air, it would be the highest vibration that we have. Oh, excuse me. And in that same effect, our bodies, our physical body, our astral body, and our spiritual body, also not one within the other, but taking up the same space, just operating at different vibrational frequencies. So your astral body isn't inside your physical body. It's taking up the same space, just at the astral vibrational frequency. And that being said, if you don't, the misconception here and where people hit these roadblocks when dealing with spiritual entities and astral beings is that they think they're here and they're like, oh, this spirit's in my house, I'm trying to get rid of it. I gotta get rid of it, but I can't. And that's because you're trying to expel it from a physical place. And it's not in that physical place. It doesn't have a physical, it don't have a physical form. It has either an astral or a spiritual form. It's energy. It's a consciousness, and without a body. And without a body or any physical form, there's no way for it to be in the physical world. Same reason you couldn't be here if you didn't have a body. You would be either on the astral or the spiritual. And in that effect, people like, alright, this is the same reason that people have trouble trying to learn astral projection. Just because like almost every book out there teaches you like this lift off. Like you're trying to focus on your astral form, your astral body, and you're trying to get it to lift off. Like you see all these out-of-body experience diagrams, and these pictures where they're like, and they got like this cord that's tethered you to your physical body. And yes, that tether exists, but it's an interplanar or an interdimensional. It's not like you're floating up on the ceiling. If you have done anything like that, you're doing a creative visualization in your mind. It's your imagination. It's just like a guided meditation, really. Whenever you truly astrally project, you are shifting your consciousness from your physical body to your astral body. And it's just a consciousness shift. It's not some movie sci-fi special effects kind of thing going on. It's just a shift in consciousness. And whenever you practice true necromancy, that's what you're doing. You shift your consciousness from your physical body to the astral to communicate with the spirit on the astral plane. All these books out there that teach you can manifest the spirit with this ritual, this incantation. It's not going to happen. It's like, take for instance, it's not because they don't want to come. It's just not physically possible. Say your mom has passed away and you are trying to call her to you. She can be there in that same space, but she's not going to manifest physically because it's just not possible. It's not any more possible than a grieving wife, asking her husband to manifest in their living room because she misses him when he's overseas fighting in Afghanistan. It's not because he don't want to be there. He'd love to be there with her, but he can't just physically poof over there, and same scenario. Spirit can't be where in the physical if it don't have a physical form. And that's why you got to meet them halfway if you're talking about spiritual communication and interacting with the spirit plane or the astral, as it were. And in another thing I want to talk about are thought forms. And every entity out there, every single one, they're thought forms. And so whatever is put into their creation is what affects them. If you're dealing with a malevolent spirit in your home, if you're dealing with a malevolent spirit in your life, we'll put it that way, and you want to expel this spirit or exorcise this spirit, get rid of it, banish it. The first step is to finding out what the spirit's name is, and the reason for that, they say that's the biggest, that's like takes up the most time in an exorcism, is finding out the demon's name. And the reason for that is because you find out their name, you know where to start, because they're all thought forms. And if, like, say, if it's, we'll use the demon from The Exorcist, if it's Pazuzu, which is an actual entity from a mythology, but it's not Judeo-Christian, hence why the priest failed by the power of Christ compels you till he was blue in the face. And then she just laughed at him and spun her head around and puked pea soup all over him. Because he's a Sumerian wind demon. He's not from Judeo-Christian mythology, so the power of Christ has no power as far as he's concerned. You might as well be saying, Oprah, by the power of Oprah, I banish you. It means nothing to him. But if you find out it's Pazuzu, and so you know to look in Sumerian mythology and find out that ritual, then you can get rid of him. But it's not, and you have to understand that they're not physically here. And once you realize that they're not on the physical plane nor on the astral plane, then you can actually defend against the spirit. Because, for one, you're not worried about the physical effects of the spirit. You're worried about the astral effects. And for one, you have to do astral protection, like protection over your astral body, because what the spirit is actually doing is it's interacting with your astral body on the astral plane, and therefore you need to protect your astral body, not your physical body, because your physical body is only affected because it's interacting with your astral body. If a thought form is strong enough, or an astral being is strong enough, and they interact with your astral body, it can manifest on your physical. Hence how spirits move keys around and throw bottles against the wall. It's because everything that exists on the physical plane is because it has a strong enough astral counterpart. And whenever something is interacting, like moving your keys or whatever, it's interacting with that astral counterpart. So to protect against spiritual attacks, or astral attacks, you have to realize it's on the astral, not the physical, so you can actually defend against it. And one good way of doing this is your astral temple, creating an astral temple, because time and space don't exist on the astral. You can create an astral temple around your astral body, and it don't matter where you go. It's always there. It's always around you. And you can even make it, because the astral is easily manipulated once you learn, energy manipulation. Because that's the astral plane. It's this ether that they call astral light, and it's this etheric substance, and so you can manipulate it in any way you want. You think of it like fucking molding clay. Okay, you can do whatever you want with it, and that includes manipulating it in such a way that it seems like it's not even there to other astral beings, and anything inside it isn't there. And so really the spirit then really don't know where to attack. And that right there is the easiest way to stop a spiritual attack, is just pretty much you're becoming spiritually invisible by doing that. And so it's on to bigger and bigger things. On to the next. Because really it don't matter how you're going to ban, even if you do this ritual and banish it, you're not killing it, you're not making it cease to exist, because it's a thought form that's going to exist as long as people believe in it. And oh my God, demons are like top of the list. There are people that believe in demons that don't even believe in a God. There was actually a statistic a few years back. I watched something on it where it was like a good 30% higher people that believed in the devil that didn't even acknowledge God. And so yeah, what people believe in, what they think about, feeds these things. And the more energy directed in is something, the more powerful it gets. So you're not going to get rid of it. There's too many people out there feeding the damn thing. So your best bet whenever trying to get rid of a spiritual attack is just astral warding, really. And another misconception about the earthbound spirits is that people think that they don't give a fuck about that they're like attacking them because get out of my house. They don't care about that. It's like you wrecked an old Ford Festiva and you bought a brand new Camaro, and you don't care. You had some good times in it, but not enough for you to say, fuck the Camaro, I'm pissed off because I don't have the Festiva anymore. Spirits, this ain't Hollywood, this ain't the fucking Ghost Whisperer. They don't need to cross over. They crossed over. You don't have a fucking choice in the matter. You now exist at a higher vibrational frequency. And yes, there are what I call uh, true, uh, the true demonic spirits are what I refer to as lost souls or evil spirits, and these are the spirits of people, evil people, and they become this way for any number of reasons. They were an evil person in life. Gilead Rays, sick fucks like that, evil people uh, that, a spirit, a soul, a ghost, whatever you want to call it, it's a person without a body. So if they were an evil person in their heart, if they were evil in life, they're not going to be automatically, oh, I've seen the light, I'm a good person now because I'm a spirit. No, if you were evil in life, you're going to be an evil spirit. If you were mean and nasty and like to hurt people, you're in life, you're going to be like that in death. But if you are a caring and compassionate individual, you're going to be that. And there's not just good and evil. There's neutral. There's the majority of people are like that. They're almost all of us. We have good and bad attributes, and we'll be the same way when we don't have a body. But generally speaking, whenever it's a malevolent spirit, it's just because it was a nasty individual, and they come across you. So the best thing to do is just to ward yourself astrally. And I do want to explain that or clarify that, I say astrally a lot and I'm not acknowledging spiritually. And that's because that anything spiritual is ascended to rejoin the divine energy. They've ascended, and unfortunately there's more that haven't, that have, and you might equate that to crossing over or whatever, but I'm not going to go into super detail in this because this isn't about that, but just to make the distinction that our souls are no different than the rest of everything else that's being created by our belief in them and their thought forms. And the many ancient cultures knew this. It all started, our souls started back in prehistoric times, tribal times, when the tribes looked to the chieftains for guidance. They looked to the warriors for protection and provision, and they died, and so they were lost without them. They didn't know what else to do but to keep talking to them. They gotta still be here in some form of another. And so they, evolved into a belief in a soul. And a part of us, a spiritual part of us that lives on. But that isn't to say we don't really have a soul and there's not a divine spark within us, because we were divinely created, and therefore the imprint, no painter is going to make a painting without his fingerprints getting on it. And that's exactly what is within that. That's what gave us that ability to manifest the soul, is that divine spark and that divine imprint. But that's not our consciousness. Our consciousness is personal. It's yours. It ain't the divine's. It's yours. And that consciousness can fade, and that astral thought form can fade. The Norse, I follow a lot of the Norse stuff, that's my ancestry. But they said that a person dies twice. Said, I think it was quoted on the Viking show actually recently, where she said the wise say that a man dies twice. Once in battle whenever the Valkyries come, and the second when the last man speaks their name. And that essentially, if you know anything about thought forms, they only exist as long as you're feeding them energy. And that is one of the main reasons necromancy is so important, because you're feeding that spirit energy, that soul energy, whenever you're interacting with them, when you're communicating with them. And because once you're forgotten, people are no longer feeding energy into you, the thought form dissipates. And there's a difference between ascension and dissipating, because your consciousness, who you are, your individuality, who you are, you will cease to exist if you dissipate. And then just that divine spark is what will return to the divine. But it's just that energy spark that will return. But if you ascend, if you connect with that spark, if you ascend you can become eternal by ascending to be part of the divine once again, but as yourself, as with your consciousness. And that's the goal of high necromancy, and that is the ascension of souls. And the way that is accomplished is you have to realize that this astral afterlife you're in is exactly that. It's just a thought form that, these deities that you hold allegiance to, you have to acknowledge them as thought forms. You have to realize what they are, so you're not grounded in that astral afterlife. And so you can acknowledge the divine for what it is. So you're not going to ascend higher if you think that you're at the pinnacle. already. You know, think of it like a race. If you're not going to finish the race if you think the checkpoint is the finish line. You know, and that's essentially what it is. You know, it's supposed to just pass on through, but we've created these thought form deities, and instead of just, okay, these are what we've created to connect with the divine, because we don't know what it is. We don't know who it is, how it is, what it is, why it is. You know, and we have to know. So we created these deities, which are a good way to connect with the divine, but the problem is we place our faith in them being the divine, and then we get stuck in the mud of that dogmatic belief system, and that belief in that deity being God or the divine, whatever you want to call it. And so we have to surpass that. We have to acknowledge them for what they are. Essentially, we have to kill our faith in these thought forms to ascend beyond them. And that's what high necromancy really is all about. And it's the ascension of souls, you know, that's eternal life. That's the key to eternal life, is enlightenment, to see beyond what we have created. But anyway, that I hope that's helped you, clarified some of the way the planes of existence work and how they operate. And I hope it helps you if you have any spiritual problems, with spiritual entities. Just remember, they're astral, they're thought forms, and you can even add a little tidbit to them now that you know that. Once you find out who they are, you can even add your own little tidbits, because whatever is directed into a thought form becomes part of it. Alright, till next time, I'm Gangrel. May your ancestors guide, keep, and bless you.